In the heart of an African village, there lived a tall, beautiful and a wealthy woman. Her long, ebony hair cascades down her back, shimmering like a river of night under the soft glow of the torches lining the walls. She is adorned in a stunning turquoise blue gown, which drapes elegantly around her, the fabric glistening like the ocean under the sun. Her name is Emma. Emma was married to her heartthrob Lucia, and their marriage was blessed with 2 beautiful children, Gracious and Stephen. After 17 years of their marriage, a tragedy struck. Lucia was diagnosed with prostate cancer, which took his life, leaving his beautiful wife and children heartbroken. Robert Marshall was a man of ambition. He had climbed the corporate ladder with ruthless efficiency, charming his way into the lives of those who could help him and discarding those who couldn't. But his greatest conquest had been Emma, the wealthy heiress to a family fortune that seemed inexhaustible. Emma, a beautiful young woman, decided to remarry after 5 years of Lucia's demise. Robert Marshall and Emma married in a lavish ceremony, and for a time, it seemed that Robert had it all: wealth, status, and a beautiful wife. But beneath the surface, cracks began to appear. Emma, once vibrant and full of life, grew withdrawn and suspicious. She had started to sense something was off with Robert, his affection feeling increasingly hollow and calculated. One night, as they argued in their grand, empty mansion, Robert snapped. "Why and what did you use that huge amount of money to do, Robert?" Emma asked.
"Must I always take permission from you over everything, Emma? I am your husband, for crying out loud, and everything you have also belongs to me. I will not have you look down on me, woman. If you try it again, I assure you what I'm capable of doing, and nothing will happen to me."
"I am beginning to see your true color, Robert, and I want to tell you that I'm fed up with this marriage and I need a divorce. You are a bad man, you never loved me, you came into my life because of my wealth."
"Divorce? You are a joker. Yes, I never loved you, your wealth attracted me to you, and that I will get. Rubbish,"
Robert said, without knowing that Emma was recording their conversation with her phone in her pocket. The argument escalated, and in a fit of rage, the woman's eyes, filled with a mix of sorrow and defiance, are fixed on her husband, who stands a few steps above her, his face contorted with rage. His strong hands, once tender, now push against her shoulders with a force that sends her reeling backwards. Her expression shifts to one of terror as she loses her balance, the world around her slowing to a surreal, heart-wrenching crawl. The torches flicker, casting long shadows that dance in the dim light. Her gown billows around her as she tumbles down the staircase, each step echoing the tragic finality of her fall. Her neck snapping with a sickening crunch as she hit the marble floor. As she reaches the bottom, her body lies still, her once vibrant eyes now closed forever. The turquoise gown pulls around her like a silken sea, its beauty undiminished even in this moment of profound sorrow. For a moment, Robert stood frozen, the reality of what he had done slowly sinking in. But then, his calculating mind kicked in, knowing fully well that Gracious and Stephen had gone to spend few days with their granny, that is Lucia's mother. He dragged Emma's body to the bottom of the stairs, positioning her in a way that suggested a tragic accident. He called the authorities, his voice shaking as he reported the fall.
"Hello, EM. I just want to report that there has been an accident in my house. My wife slipped from the staircase and hit her head on the floor. I think she's dead. Please hurry down to number 12 Kellybore Street now. I'm very scared."
The police arrived, and with no signs of foul play, they ruled it an accident. Robert played the grieving widower to perfection, his tears convincing even the most skeptical of onlookers. Emma's wealth passed to him without delay, sidelining Emma's children, and Robert seemed to have gotten away with the perfect crime. Emma was buried, and her 2 children, being traumatized over their mother's demise, decided to stay permanently with their grandmother. But Emma's spirit was not at rest. Weeks turned into months, and Robert began to feel an eerie presence in the house. At first, it was small things. A chill in the air, the sound of footsteps in empty rooms, the faint scent of Emma's perfume lingering in the hallways. He tried to ignore it, to dismiss it as guilt playing tricks on his mind. But the manifestations grew stronger and stronger. One night, as Robert sat in his study, a gust of cold air swept through the room. The lights flickered, and the temperature dropped suddenly. He looked up and saw Emma standing in the doorway, her eyes filled with a mix of sorrow and anger. "You thought you could get away with it, didn't you?" she whispered, her voice echoing around the room. Robert's heart pounded in his chest. "This can't be real," he stammered. "You're dead. This isn't possible." Terrified, Robert stumbled out of the study, but Emma's spirit followed him, her presence relentless. She tormented him day and night, her spectral form appearing at the most unexpected moments, whispering accusations and threats. Robert's once immaculate composure shattered. He became a shell of his former self, paranoid and haunted by the ghost of the woman he had murdered. Robert decided to move out of that house to another apartment in a nearby city. After 1 year of Emma's demise, Gracious and Stephen decided to visit their mother's house, and Robert, their stepfather, was nowhere to be found. Gracious stood alone in the dimly lit attic, surrounded by relics of her family's past. Dust motes floated through the air, illuminated by the single, flickering light bulb hanging from the ceiling. She had always felt an eerie presence in this room, but tonight it was different, more intense, more urgent. The air seemed to crackle with anticipation. She had come to this old house, her childhood home, after her mother's untimely death. Emma, her mother, had been the heart of their town, loved by everyone. Her sudden passing had left a gaping hole in the community. The official cause of death had been a tragic accident, a fall down the stairs. But Gracious had never believed it. There were too many unanswered questions, too many suspicious details. "Gracious, what are you doing up there?" her younger brother, Stephen, called from downstairs. "Just looking through some old things," she replied, her voice steady, masking her unease. Her fingers trembled as she sifted through a box of old photographs. Her mother smiled back at her from the faded images, a reminder of happier times. As she reached the bottom of the box, she found a small, leather-bound journal. It was her mother's diary, something she had never seen before. "Gracious, dinner's getting cold," Stephen shouted again. "I'll be down in a minute," she responded, her eyes fixed on the diary. With a sense of trepidation, Gracious opened the diary and began to read. The entry started innocuously enough, mundane accounts of daily life. But as she delved deeper, the tone shifted. Her mother had been afraid. There were entries about Robert threatening and saying that he will kill her and nobody will ever find out. The name Robert appeared repeatedly. Gracious' heart pounded. Robert was her mother's second husband, her stepfather. The attic lights flickered again, and the temperature seemed to drop. Gracious shivered, pulling her coat tighter around her. She felt a sudden chill, as if someone, or something, was watching her. Then, she saw it, a faint, glowing figure standing in the corner of the attic. It was her mother. "Gracious," the ghostly figure whispered, its voice ethereal and distant. "You must know the truth." Gracious' breath caught in her throat. "Mom, how is this possible?" Emma's ghost drifted closer, her eyes filled with a mix of sorrow and urgency. "Robert killed me, Gracious. He pushed me down the stairs. You must expose him." Tears streamed down Gracious' face. "But how?" He covered his tracks so well. Her mother's ghost extended a translucent hand, pointing to a hidden compartment in the attic wall. "There is evidence. He was careless. Find it, and you will have the proof you need." Gracious followed her mother's direction, prying open the concealed panel. Inside, She found a collection of incriminating items, a torn piece of her mother's dress, her mother's phone, and a vial of poison. Her hands shook as she gathered the evidence. The ghost of her mother began to fade. Be brave, my daughter. Justice must be served. I can rest in peace once the truth is known. With renewed determination, Gracious descended from the attic, clutching the evidence tightly. She knew what she had to do.
Hello. Gracious Lucia on the line. Please, can I speak to Officer Stan? I found something in our house which I think will be of help to my mother's death investigation. Can I come to the station in the morning to show it to you?
Sure, Gracious, I will be expecting you.
The next morning, she went to the police with the items she had found and her mother's diary. The investigation was reopened, and with the new evidence, Robert was arrested and charged with Emma's murder. As the news spread through the town, Gracious felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Her mother's spirit had guided her, leading her to the truth. Emma's ghost no longer haunted the attic, but Gracious could still feel her presence, watching over her and Stephen, finally at peace. Moral lesson. 1. No matter how long it takes, the truth must surely come out. 2. Greed and deception are parts of the things that can destroy one's life. Follow me on Instagram, subscribe to my YouTube channel for more educative stories.